Okay, the time's now 1 o'clock. We'll start our regular commissioner meeting for Tuesday, September 5th with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the first item on the agenda today is the Whitley County Council on Aging. Hi, Leslie.
Okay, so this afternoon, I'm presenting 2 items. I'll start with some good news. We received one of our transit buses last week. We will be receiving the other one either at the end of this week or early next week, perhaps on Monday. And so we're very excited. One of the things that I'll be presenting today is the voucher for reimbursement for federal and state funds that have been made available for that vehicle. And we'll go ahead and start with that. I have, let me pull that up here. So the vehicle total cost was $105,500. And you'll see on your paperwork that there was $11,900 made available for state funding. The original federal amount of funding that was made available was the $47,600. And then because of the dramatic increase in the purchase price of the vehicle from the time that it was ordered to the time that it was received, they made some additional federal funding available in the amount of $46,000. Which brings our local share for this vehicle for $12,633. And I just need a signature. And it's actually on the back. So let me send you the one that, yeah, there we go. For that voucher.
Does that need to be in blue ink?
I do have a blue pen. I never know from one voucher to the next, so it's just safer to sign them all in blue.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And that passes unanimously.
And while we're on the topic of transit vehicles, we will have another voucher that will look exactly like this voucher. It will have a different invoice number and purchase order number on it. But I didn't know if there was a way for us to discuss that, approve it today so that when it's received, then we can go ahead and submit it for signature prior to the next public meeting, if that's a possibility. It's important for us to expedite the processing of the payment that we receive so that we can then pay the company that provides us the vans and buses. So if that's an option.
Matt, is that an option?
What I had mentioned to Leslie is I think that if you know everything, as long as you make a motion that says it's going to be the amount you say and the invoice number, and that it's contingent upon it being those 2 things, then I think it's probably fine at that point. And she knows those things, so it really will look exactly the same as this.
It will be exactly the same
amount.
Just the new invoice number.
And these are funds that are on hand already, right? We're just basically, so.
So would you want that signed today or once you receive it? could
Once
you
we
stop
receive
in
it,
and,
yes.
Commissioner Banks could sign it?
That's exactly what we would do.
Okay.
Because we don't have the vehicle yet, which means NDOT can't create the voucher until we receive the vehicle. So as soon as we receive the vehicle, which we're hoping is later this week, perhaps on Monday of next week, then we can bring that in prior to the next publicly held meeting.
Okay. So I would need a motion for that as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the pending voucher upon receival of the van.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And that also passes unanimously. So you'll get that signed when you get it.
Fantastic. And then I just have our standard quarterly voucher for signature as well. It shows our current request of a total of $113,910. $90,273 of that is federal money that's been set aside, and the remaining amount of $23,637 is state funding. That will use the remaining amount of state funding that's been set aside for us for the year.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And that passes unanimously as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, we have a discussion on vacate of the right of way. Is there anyone here, Brad? Are you here to speak on that, or Nathan, or?
I was not asked to speak on it.
Okay. I know at the, not this last meeting, I was absent the meeting prior. There were documents produced that you had some involvement in. You had gone out and looked at possibilities for turning around vehicles and whatnot. So didn't know if you wanted to speak to that at all, or if Ryan, if you had anything to add to the conversation. Okay. Commissioners,
I guess for me to be in favor of anything like this, the proposed adjustment would need to be on a lot bigger piece of ground. I'd like to see an area where you could turn a snowplow around without having to back up, or a truck and trailer, whatever the situation may be. I don't think that's the case from what's been proposed.
I would agree with that. I took another trip out there this morning to look around and kind of get a feel for it. That whole street is extremely tight. Today, I would not be in favor of it. As Commissioner Schuman stated, possibly if there were quite a bit more ground granted to the county, to turn a snowplow around or whatever the county might need to do. That may change, but as for today, I would not support vacating it.
yeah, so I am inclined to agree. I think not necessarily opposed to the idea, but I think we could probably come up with a better plan. A little more space for turning around on a tight, narrow road. So I think we're all in agreement. So Matt, I don't know if any action needs to be taken at this time, or
Just a motion to keep the right of way as is.
Yeah, and I was just thinking of, there's a time limit on, and at which it just dies of natural causes, and I forgot to, do you know what that is, Brad? There's a,
I don't off the top of my
I
head.
think it's 60 days after the hearing, because otherwise you're kind of making a negative motion, right? And
Right.
which you're not supposed to do, so maybe just not taking action at this point is really the action. With, to the extent the public heard your comments that, hey, we're not going to approve it. The petition in front of you, well, I guess you could just deny the petition though. There's an actual petition to vacate the right of way. Somebody could make a motion to deny the petition. That might be, it's not really a negative motion. There's a call to action in front of you. You can either say yes or no to.
okay.
Either one, I think, is appropriate. Now, I guess the question is, if you're kind of saying, give us something different, then it may be better to not take action so that they don't have to start the process all over again. Have another public hearing and all that. There's a filing fee and all those things that will just start all over, publication and everything else. I guess that's kind of up to you guys as to whether you're saying, look, I'm okay with them starting over, then I would just deny it.
I think there may be room for negotiations and common ground might be found. So I don't know that I'm inclined to recommend any action, but I'll defer to you.
What I would like to see would be the property owner has the petition to get together with all of the neighbors, and if something can be come up with that everyone can agree on, that doesn't negatively affect any of the other homeowners, especially the ones that are right next to him. And then also with our county director on a way to get a plow in there better, or anything else that we would need to. And then also, as we're talking about this, there were also some signs saying no turnaround. If I'm correct, if it's county right of way, you cannot have those signs up. Is that correct, Brian? I don't know if you know, I know you're still fairly new.
That sign appears to be off of the right of way, but it is deceiving on, what it says, I guess. It's a sign that reads no turnaround, but it's not an official ordinance sign. There's no ordinance for it as far as the county is concerned.
I haven't seen the sign, but yeah, I mean, be like any other private property sign, I guess. I think the issue is there isn't enough space at the end of the road, basically, right? Is that it just dead ends into a T and into a.
Yeah, into someone's garage.
Yeah, that's the difficult part, is that there's no space as it is.
So I guess to move forward, I don't know if you have anything to add, Commissioner Schuman, but I would like to see something that that property owner gets together with the other property owners and talk it out, because as I asked at the last meeting, if anyone was spoken to, no one had been approached about any of it. So I would like to see some more collaboration and people being good neighbors to one another.
Yeah, I mean, what's there now is kind of the shape of a cul-de-sac, but it's pretty tight. But I think if there was to be a change made, my opinion is that I would just like to see a larger area for a turnaround for trucks or trailers or whatever needed to, because it is very tight back there. And there is some vacant property that the one landowner does possess, that maybe something could be done in that area.
Okay. Any further discussion? We'll move on. The next item on today's agenda is a septic ordinance with Scott Wagner from our health department. Septic's fine. Whatever you feel more comfortable with.
So after at the last meeting, just kind of give you a shout out that the septic ordinance is coming your way. So you do have a draft version of that was sent to you. I put some highlights on that to show you what the more restrictive parts are from the state rule. Those are things that we have in our existing ordinance that got vacated when the state law changed in July. So it's nothing new to Whitley County. We've been operating under that since 2011. But since they are more restrictive, that would be highlighted when we send it to the state for approval. So I'm not here today necessarily for approval, but hopefully by the next meeting, you feel comfortable with any approval for that, so we can send it to the state after October 1st, which is their deadline to get their approval of those changes. Any questions at all that you saw in there that was concerning or anything that you felt was?
Can you just give us a refresher of the reason why we're doing this? We had multiple ordinances, right?
Right. So under state law, basically they passed a state law that said that local health department rules on septic systems were no longer valid as of July 1st. They kind of gave us a warning from last year that would happen. And so that went through. They did give a little caveat in there and said, if you do need to have restrictions, we're open to that idea because the soils in Indiana change from region to region. And so we were to come to our local commissioners, have it all rewritten again, and then submit that to the state to their committee, technical review committee after October 1st for have approval for that. That was what the legislation said that we to do. So we had approximately 4 different ordinances that were current on septic systems and related things. So we had a regular septic system installation that would govern installations, how contractors work with us, permits and plans that need submitted, things like that. We had a ordinance regarding sales of property and that submissions of information needs to be done at the sale of that property to the health department. We also had a sewer line and sewer exemption / septic ordinance that came in that we passed last spring or earlier this spring, because the law is changing, to have the health department have rules and regulations regarding sewer line connections and things like that. And then, of course, we had a last ordinance on what I put in there was the septic tank abandonment, but also new state legislation change and allows for holding tanks beyond what it used to. So all that information is all in one thing now. So that hopefully would make it easier to follow, which is one place for all those rules in there. And then, like I said, the only things that were changed were the highlighted things that you saw, which were in our ordinance before. It's just more restrictive than with the state. Some of those things are not allowing septic systems in areas where sewers are. Most of our sewers currently are around the lakes, and those lake watersheds were protected for a reason, so we want to make sure that they're continued protected. Licensing of installers, we've been doing that since 1993, and so we want to continue to be able to license that way. They have to pass somebody's test. They just don't have people out there digging and not knowing what they're doing.
Which really just adds a layer of protection for the consumer.
Right, and for the contractor too, because then they can say, hey, we are certified with the county, they come out and inspect everything, everything's recorded so that they're covered as well. Perimeter drain issues, since we have wet clay soils, the state allows full perimeter drains up to 2%. We brought that to 6%. The reason why we brought that 6% slope is because it covers all mound systems. And mound systems are the most tedious and more difficult septic, and they're above the ground, and we make sure that we protect the sewage in that so it's not getting out. So that's the other part of that. So those are most of the restrictions in there. Like I said, we've been operating like that for a long time, and nobody seemed to have too much of an issue with that. So, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns? Matt, did you have time to take a look?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any real questions or concerns, and it was just, I think from Scott's perspective, is whether or not you want these provisions that we currently have
Right.
that are a little bit more restrictive, and so I think that's what you need feedback on. So
Right, otherwise it's just
so next month
administrative
or next
rules.
meeting, it's
That's okay, I can bring back. It's Bob touches it, sure everything's been corrected grammar wise and all that. I think we're pretty much there, but I want to give you ample time to look at that because the state really wanted to focus on the local leadership, reviewing those ordinances again, making sure that they're valid for their communities before it's sent out to the state. They will possibly reach back out to you asking, is this really necessary? Are these things what you want? I think they're pretty minimal. They're not really restrictive, much as some other counties do, but.
and the disclosure part is just going away then at this point, right? The current disclosure that we have.
Right,
I don't see that in here, so
we could put it back in if you want to write something up there.
I'm not suggesting that. I noticed, I had forgotten that was one of that got put into this, and
The
that it's
disclosure
not
about the
on
sales,
a sale, yeah.
it should be in there.
Oh, it is?
I thought, if it's not, I will redouble my efforts on that. We have gotten sparse participation with regards to that. I have, over the last 4 years, sent out letters again, multiple times to real estate firms, law firms, title companies, letting them know that it's county rules that when they close on a property, they need to have that information sent on the form that we provide to them. But typically I get 6 to 8 a year, and we know that there's more than 6 to 8 houses being sold in septic systems. So I don't get the participation I'd like to see on that, and I don't know how else to push that on there. I mean, it's for the buyer's benefit. And I think the sellers too, to say, here's 5 questions. Where's the tank at? Do you have a permit? Has it been pumped? Do you have any receipts? Things, basic things. And I still get calls from people, hey, we just bought this. We have no idea what's going on with our septic. Well, you should have. It's law, but other parts of the ordinance are going well. So.
Good. Any questions for Scott?
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the notice of voting locations for the upcoming general election.
I do believe Cindy was going to be out. She had set everything prior to look at.
Yeah, and we did have it in our packet. I didn't see any changes.
She said it was the same.
Yeah, it's the same.
Kind of published it.
Yep. Has everyone had a chance to review the polling locations? I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising their right hand. Opposed, the same. That passes unanimously. Okay, the next item on the agenda today is payroll and accounts payable claims approval.
I went up and looked over payroll and the claims. I saw no issues. There weren't very many. So I would make a motion to approve payroll.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve payroll. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising their right hand. And that passes unanimously. Claims.
I'll make a motion to approve claims.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve claims. All those in favor, raise your right hand. And that also passes unanimously. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the previous meeting minutes from August 21st.
I'll make a motion to approve the August 21st, 2023 meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And opposed, the same. And I'll abstain. Okay, at this time, we'll open up for public comment. So if anyone would like to come forward for public comment, just please come forward and introduce yourself, and we'll allow for you to speak.
Hi, my name is James Stanley, resident of South Whitley, Indiana, been there 10 years, property owner. I want to ask the board to consider passing a new ordinance for the county protecting the property owners and taxpayers. I paid my property off 2 years ago, and I own 5 acres in South Whitley. This is the 5th request I have received in the last year and a half from a shyster, different shysters, trying to openly buy my property. I didn't incite any of this. I've received phone calls. I was not aware that there's a high equity list for the county whenever you pay your house off, or there's a list. I don't know if the bank sell it or what. Next, I would like to show, these are snapshots. I'm here today because of home title theft. Now, it's serious because there's actually a company that offered you could, if you would please pass it around.
Okay, I wasn't sure what you wanted me to do.
There's actually a company like LifeLock for identity theft. They actually offer this for properties. And when you're done, when you get it back, if you would scroll to the next picture, then I will show you an example. There was a screenshot of a man, I believe it was Connecticut or New Jersey. He owned a piece of property, lived in another state, paid the property taxes. 5 years later, he comes back to that property. It's his family's property, and someone had stolen that property and built a $1 million house on that property. I have suffered identity theft. It's detrimental to your score, credit score, and it's costly and expensive, and it's very frustrating to try to get, and costly to get the attorneys to get all that taken care of. So what I am proposing today is I'm asking you to consider putting a mandate. Any title work from this point, it's a very simple procedure is what I'm thinking in my head. Thank you. So anytime a piece of property comes up for sale, it all goes through the recorder's office, correct? To the title work? Okay. So what I would like to see is from now on, whenever a property comes up for sale, now, this is not a tax. I'm not proposing a tax. I'm proposing a one-time fee that either the buyer or the seller will pay, and it will go through the courthouse. So when I buy a piece of property and the title work starts, I would like to see a piece of paper generated with that address on it. And what the courthouse does is they go to taxable, taxes payable to the last person that paid that on that property that says they own it, right? And a county sheriff will take that piece of paper from the courthouse, and all it is it's like a clearing tag. The deputy goes to the residence or to the person who is last stated and paid taxes the last year and asks them, are you the one that's selling, are you selling this property? And then they sign off. So I know there's an expense, so let me finish, please. Okay, so it's not a tax, it's a one-time fee. So if you do a figure, what's it gonna cost to have an officer drive to this property, get the owner's signature, either yay or nay, I am or I am not selling this property, and then bring it back to the title work here, and then it will allow the sale to go forward, okay? And if not, then it's stopped. Whatever the cost is, so if it's $100 for a deputy sheriff to drive to the far end of the county and spend an hour to get a guy to sign this, double it. And that money, so number one, the county's not incurring any cost, it's the seller, buyer, whatever, okay? Then that extra money, so if it's $100, now it's $2, and that extra $100 goes into a discretionary fund for not the county sheriff's office. So there is total transparency. The county has no control over that money. The county sheriff's office does. And this helps the county sheriff's budget to maintain new body cams, new vests, whatever. It will help with the budget for the sheriff's county, the county sheriff's office, but it also leaves it there. So if they have excess, they can use it the next year to do other things. And the county does not touch that money. It's all transparent. There's no tax that the taxpayers would have to pay at all. And it protects, it's a simple thing. Every morning, the sheriffs take people into the courthouse for the morning hearings, right? So while the deputy is there, while they're doing the morning hearings, he can go to the clerk's office and get the list of papers for that day. And then they go and do it, whatever, and it's on hold until they come back. So we're not creating a new job. We're not adding extra stuff to it's part of the routine. But this will ensure that this does not happen, okay? In a reeling economy, and with scams getting as more complicated as they are, and with people, I'm sorry, but common sense seems to have left the building sometimes. People just aren't as sharp as they used to be. And I think you can agree with me here, okay? And I just want to go to work. I want to do my life. I want to pay my taxes. I want to go about my business. And I don't want to have to worry about stuff like this, okay? And it would be nice if we had a piece of paper like that. And I know it sounds like a simple moronic thing, but something so simple as this, that would stop any title work to go forward, is going to save someone a lot of stress, a lot of money, because, okay, so this guy that had his house, his property stolen, they got his information out of the trash, okay? Now, it's that simple. People are they're that bad. They'll dig through your mailbox, okay? So I think that we need to start being proactive in things, especially cybercrime, this what this is, instead of reactive. And it's not, it's protecting the taxpayer and the property owner of this county. And it's going to ease people's minds a little bit more, I think, about something like this happening. But it'll never happen to me. Hey, look, it does. It happens. It happened to me. Okay. And I don't want to see anybody go through something like this. This guy actually, they took out 2 mortgages on the property. The company bought it, the real estate company bought it, sold it to an investor who put the house on, if you read the article, if you want to look. And then it was sold again. Okay, so this thing was sold twice from the original owner. So I would like to see something instituted where it's physical paper that stops the process that's done by a deputy, so that it's legal. And all he's got to do is come, hey, look, is this your property? And then look at your driver's license to confirm that's who it is, and have them sign off on it that they are or are not selling the property. And then the title would continue. And I wouldn't have a problem paying a $200 extra fee having title work done to know I'm not getting a title bomb. That's what that's called. It's if there's a second mortgage, which obviously this happened with this gentleman, okay, who's their step 2. The guy that's building this house, now he's out $1 million. And the cost of the property, okay? And he's not getting anything. And this gentleman, since he is the original title holder, will get his property back, but it's gonna cost him $50,000, $60,000 to get an attorney to fight this, to get all the paperwork turned back around again. And the banks aren't gonna be too happy either. So I just would like to see this council introduce something in physical that would prevent this and lock things up until the person is confirmed you are not selling this property. And again, I would like to see the county sheriff's office get that money so that they can help. Crime is increasing. Certain demographics are coming out of bigger liberal cities, coming into smaller conservative communities, doing their crime. Because we are so laid back here. We never have anything happen. The biggest thing here is we get shopping theft from Walmart. Okay, once in a while we have a murder every 15 or 20 years, but these people are coming out and they're coming after people that are not aware of their physical surroundings. So I think it's a bonus to our county sheriff's department as well, that it gives them extra money to operate and to equip their officers with the stuff that they need up to date, not old stuff, right? Things change so much. Ballistics, armor plating isn't what it used to be. okay? We're getting rifle rounds and pistols now, which will go through a plate, correct? Okay, see, ballistics are changing every day. So, and I want to see our officers safe because I don't want somebody coming in my house in the middle of the night attacking my family, okay? So I just, that's what I would like to see, something engaged so that it, in physical form, so that we don't have to suffer this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any more public comment? Anyone else that would like to come forward today?
Just have a, Sonia, I'm right, 5865 East State Road 14. I just have a quick question about a news thing that was released, I believe, on Friday about the Healthy First Indiana initiative. It's a 2-year program that counties apply for and they get funding back for. I was just wondering why we didn't do it.
Yeah. I think we can all speak to that and have varying answers, Sonia, but at the end of the day, we had many conversations with the representative from the governor's office. He visited us physically in our office multiple times. We met with Parkview. We kicked around a lot of ideas, but at the end of the day, we decided that we would take our time, that we would not opt in this year. It's something that we can opt into next year. And I know that there are many state legislators who look to fund that year over year, every budget session, which is every other year, fund that. So, for me personally, I had apprehension because it looked like we would need to grow government a little more. We'd have to add some additional people to do those programs. And by the time we hired 3 to 4 people, most of those funds would be used up in salaries and benefits to do programs that we already offer, that we're already doing. So the reporting back to the state, that piece was going to be costly and it was going to be timely. Somebody was going to have to obviously be hired to do that because there was so much to it. Parkview offered to be a partner, which we really appreciated that. They would have taken the funds and then utilized it for the different criteria that was set out by the state. And that's something that we wouldn't rule out in the future. But again, we just had concerns with this first year. So we're just playing it a little slow. We're going to watch how it works for other counties, and we will be watching closely.
So did you guys, when you met with them and you talked about it, and then you talked amongst yourselves and decided to decline it?
We've had many conversations, including conversations with our health director, our health board, the board members. And so, this was not a decision that we took lightly. It was not a decision that we rushed into. We've just, in fact, Dr. Burkett and Scott Wagner were part of the conversation at Parkview. They were physically there. And so, we looked at it from many, many different angles, and it wasn't something that we took lightly because it was approximately 500,000, but there was a matching element to that. So it wasn't as if we could pull back the money that we already use in our health department and use that somewhere else. It wasn't like the state was saying, we're going to fully fund your health department. So it wasn't, we couldn't shuffle the money and use it toward anything else. It was just an additional 500,000, but then also a list of things that we would have to start keeping metrics for.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else today for public comment?
Hi, I'm Gary Parker, talking about the county vacate. I just wanted to state that we would be very open to some type of a new proposal that would be fair to the whole road. I believe my neighbors, I can't speak for them, but I believe they would be as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Matt, do you have anything to add?
I do not.
Tiffany? Commissioner Schumann?
I do not.
Commissioner Basinger?
Just a reminder to take your internet speed test. The QR codes are on each door. You can also visit the EDC's website, and there's a little tab that says broadband. and just click on that and it'll tell you your home's upload and download speed. And then that goes to the state to challenge the FCC maps, saying that our county is properly served. As we all know, there are many parts that are not. And I'm happy to let you guys know that we do have 3 prospective companies that are going to be putting in applications for grants this next round for next level connections. So
Okay, thank you. And I have nothing to add, so at this time, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.